Welcome back to the shop. Today we are back on a car that we haven't actually had on the channel in several years. Got to move it around a little bit and be able to get it in the shop here and stuff like that. It's just a little bit of things we weren't planning on happening, and we need to go get that car out and get it a little bit more mobile. We're talking about our 1974 Dodge Dart that we call Sassy. Let me tell you the backstory, and then we'll go out and take a look at Sassy and get it fired up. I'm Mike, and you're watching My Car Shop. The Sassy Swinger is a car that I purchased when my son was in high school. I had known about the car for a long time. It had been for sale, and my son was interested in driving an older car to school rather than something newer. And I knew about this Swinger that was sitting there. And so I said, would you be interested in a car like Scoops? And he said, yeah, that would be cool. I didn't own Scoops at the time. It was still my buddy Brad's. So I went out and talked to the guy, and the car was parked back in the weeds. They were about this tall, and dogs had been jumping all over it. And it was a mess, but he said, yeah, I'll sell it. $300, get it out of here. So I said, all right, I'll be back with the trailer. So we got out to his place, and I was getting my come along out. He said, what are you doing that for? I said, so we can haul it up on the trailer. He said, why don't you just start it up and drive it on the trailer? I said, you've got to be kidding me. Nope, there's a battery right there. Throw it in, fire it up. Jumped in, fired right up. Didn't even have to dump gas in the carburetor. Pulled it right up onto the trailer. Craziness. As I was getting out of the car, I looked down at the odometer, and it said, I don't remember the number, if it was 19,000 or 24,000, super low mileage. And I said, that's 100 and something, right? He said, nope, that's original mileage. I'm like, yeah, right, sure. He said, no, seriously, that is the original mileage on the car. And he told me the backstory. The backstory on the car was a woman had purchased it brand new from a local dealership. She drove it for only a year or maybe two, and she died. The family didn't get rid of the car. They just parked it out behind the barn in the weeds, and it sat there until he had gotten it quite a few years before I was there to pick it up for myself. He had bought the car as a project for his wife. From sitting out, it had rotted pretty good body-wise. The fenders and the rocker panels and the quarter panels and stuff like that were pretty rotten. But I still was pretty skeptical about the mileage. But we got the car home, took it off the trailer. It was terrible. It was awful. The seats were shredded from animals and so forth. And I was pretty skeptical, but I worked on it, got it running and driving a little bit better, and had a brake that was scraping because some of the brake hardware had rotted, I assumed, and was running around in the drum. So I went to take a drum off, and lo and behold, the original star, the retainer on this from the assembly line, was still on the brake drum. And I go, okay, this is a huge clue that this car can't be over 100,000 miles. It would have had at least 2 brake jobs done. The original stars are here. So I buzzed around the whole car. Sure enough, all of them were on there. Pulled the drum off. Brakes looked like absolute brand new on this car. And it confirmed to me, you know what? He's right. This car only had, I apologize, I can't remember the number, 19,000, 24,000 miles on it. It was the original mileage, 100% for sure. Now, I don't know if you live in an area like I do where there's a lot of clay and mud in the ground, but a car can sit for a long time, like the Forsyth Duster here. This car was in beautiful shape when it was parked, but it sat on wet ground and rotted away. This car only has 9,000 miles on it. It was run on the drag strip for its entire life. It was only driven on the road for 1 year. I know the family, I know the history, the mileage is pretty accurate on the car, but it's rotted terrible from sitting in the wet ground. Sassy is exactly the same way. Now you might be asking, wait a minute, why do you call this car Sassy? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you the story. In the process of making decisions about what was going to happen with that car, I was working on a 70 AA Arcuda for a buddy of mine that was sassy grass green, and I fell in love with that color. And I decided, you know what? I want to make that car a sister car to my buddy Brad's 73 Swinger, which we now own, that he called 2 Scoops, and his was the green that you know with purple scoops and a purple stripe and purple wing. And I thought, let's do this one, sassy grass green, with black and a black stripe, and we'll call it was only recently I decided to start calling that one Sassy because we shortened 2 scoops to Scoops because it fit on the license plate better. Its full name is 2 Scoops, but its nickname is Scoops. So that's the plan for the car, is to paint it sassy grass green. I have a pair of hood scoops for it. I'm not going to put a wing on that car. I don't think it's going to have a vinyl top. It's just going to be a plain sassy grass green car. But we also, because the fenders and other things were so bad, we bought quarter panels for it. One of them is on there, even though it's a bit damaged. We got to get that finished up. The other quarter panels stay hanging on the wall. I also took 2 trips down to Kentucky to pick up rust-free sheet metal for that car, as well as a V8 drivetrain, because that car is a slant 6. No, I've blabbed on enough. We're going to grab a battery. We're going to try to find the keys for it wherever the heck they are, and we're going to go out and see if we can get that thing fired up and get it moved. And we got to pump tires, and it's just an ordeal because the car's been parked out there under the tent for a year, and it was back in the back of the barn, but we filled that up with other stuff, so it's out there this winter. But anyway, we got to move it up here to the shop so that we can do a few things to it over the next little while. Let me make it clear that we're not putting that car back into project rotation right now, but there are things we need to do to it because of the bigger picture of all the stuff that's happening here on the homestead. And we've got to do a big bunch of parking lot shuffle around here for homestead projects and things that are happening around here. I already said that. Did I mention that things are happening around here? Yeah, it's house projects cause something else to happen, and then when that happens, something else has to happen, and then I have to shuffle. And well, I'm sure your lives aren't much different than that sometimes. Alrighty, here we go. Probably need to dump some gas in the carburetor. There's a leak in the fuel line, and it causes issues, drain back and so forth. So we'll do that. I see the squirrels have been putting nuts in here again. That's lovely. And let's see, we have a ground wire to bypass our seat belt interlock relay that needs to go in here. And this is a Group 24F battery, which is for a Ford, so the posts are on the wrong side. It also helps if you take the cap off of the battery. Well, you little pot licker, come on. Get up on out of there. There we go. There we go. So I'm almost positive our carburetor is going to be drained down to nothing from sitting here for, it's been a year, maybe 2. I don't remember. It's been a while. Didn't really want it sitting out here, but such is life. You don't have enough space for everything. And don't even say we have too many cars, because we don't. We just don't have enough space. Yep, she's empty, empty, empty. So what I'm going to do is, let's see, can we fill the bowl vent on this one? Yes, we can. So I'm going to get a can and dump some gas in the bowl vent, get some gas in the carburetor bowl, and then dump some down the carburetor, and we'll get her fired up. I normally like to use a squirt can for this, but I don't have one that's working right now, so I need to get a new one. Well, that's really a pain in the butt, I guess. Can't really get it in the bowl vent there. There it goes. Okay, that's more down the carburetor throat than I wanted, but let's fire it and see what happens. Crank it and see what happens. Oh, keys, there we are. There we go. Nothing happens. I got a feeling we got a bad terminal, so let's get the terminals wiggled a little bit. See what happens now. I wonder if the issue is with this relay here. This little wire that's got to make the bypass for the seatbelt interlock. Oh, it's windy out here. It's always windy out here. Okay, let's get a screwdriver and jump the relay. Come on, out of there. I always have a screwdriver on the dash of this car. Let's see if the battery's dead. This battery shouldn't be dead. But you never know about these things. Cool. So it's this wire. I know that's the issue, but we're not going to mess with that for now. So let's dump a little more down the carb. It's going to take a while to get gas up from the tank. There, that's way too much, so that'll be perfect. Get closer. So it's been sitting a while. It's going to take a while to get gas up from the tank. So nothing there yet. There we go. That was beautiful. I hate these stupid modern gas cans. Come on. Come on. Got a feeling my starter Bendix is sticking, or we chipped a tooth out of the flywheel, which I don't care because I don't intend to use this motor or transmission anyway. But there she's running finally. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you the original miles on this now. With all the years we drove it, it's got just a little over 45,000 miles on it. Cool. All right, I'm gonna let this run for a bit. Got to pump up some tires, and we'll see if we can get this puppy to move. That's right. No brakes. No brakes. Ah! Well, the issue was that the ignition power wire for the start was not connected to the relay because the solder that I had done on a few episodes ago had come off. So I went ahead and resoldered that one terminal on. So let's take it back out to the car now and test it and make sure everything's good. But anyway, so that's what's going on here. It's one of those things where something that should be relatively simple, well, when you add the word relative, relatives aren't always easy. So, I'm sorry to my relatives that are watching this. I'm not saying you're difficult. I'm speaking in generalities. So, yeah. Anyway, excuse me. Sorry for the wind. Let me turn the other way here. Try to shield my microphone a little bit. So I fixed the relay and I tested it with a jumper wire and it worked. But when I turned the key, it didn't. So I started chasing down the power. It was that was the power relay, not the ground. That comes out of where I bypassed the seatbelt interlock over there. There was no power to the seatbelt interlock area, even though I chopped all that. I had to tap into the wire, so I pulled it out of the firewall, checked there, no power, went under the dash and checked it, no power, pulled the plugs apart, put it all back together again, had a test light out here, kept testing and testing, nothing, and then realized, you know what, I'm sure it was one of those plugs because one of them looked like it might not have been plugged in all the way. So I came out and tested my ground on my test light that I had here. It wasn't grounded. So I went back over and hooked up over there by the seatbelt interlock relay after I had already fiddled with all those plugs under the dash. And lo and behold, we had power. So if nothing is blown up since I got it all tested and working, we should be able to hit the key. There we go. And it sounds like we definitely have a tooth on the flywheel. And I don't care. Like I said, it's fine. I'm sure I did that, starting it with a screwdriver and the starter kicking in and out and not getting good contact. And if it was a car that I really cared about, I wouldn't be doing. I mean, I care about the car. I don't care about the drivetrain. Not that I intentionally wanted to ruin it. My guess is we chipped a tooth on the flywheel. You heard me say what the original mileage was on this. I hear a cat somewhere. Sorry. Somewhere one of the cats is. Anyway, low mileage. I'm going to sell this motor. So if anybody's looking for a good running low mileage slant six, this is the last one I have in the bunch. I still have the slant six in the golden mullet. I've sold all the other slant sixes that I have. They were all comparable mileage. I don't know about the one in that, but that one was seized up. So that's probably just going for junk out of the golden mullet. But anyway, it's a great running motor, low mileage transmission. Maybe has a tooth on a torque converter flywheel that needs to be taken care of. But so let me bring you over here and I'll show you what this all looks like, and then we'll get this wrapped up for today. So here's our relay. This is the starter, the power into the relay. This is the neutral safety switch one here that I've bypassed up to here for now. Our neutral safety, or our interlock relay, all these wires are chopped, and I chopped into the one here that goes into the key switch. That's the power. So everything is good. I've got this one hooked up here for the neutral safety because there's a problem with the switch under the car, and that's no big deal. So anyway, I'll take you in there. My battery's dying on the camera again, but take you in here and fire this baby up. Oh. Yep, there's definitely a chip tooth. There's our mileage, 45,710. I think as I think about it, the mileage on this might have been right around 30 when I got it. It was low. I just don't remember. It's a great running slant 6. That's usually the way it starts, immediately just boom. You know, it could be, I don't know. Could be the starters hanging up a little bit. Car's been sitting a long time. But she starts phenomenally. So that's what I want. That was the goal today. So the goal and objective today on that car was just simply to get it so that I could jump in it, turn the key, and move it. So that as we're doing the curly shuffle around here, that's not something that I'm out there having to fool with, just like I was today for several hours getting it fired up. Yeah, so it's fine, and we'll just have to make sure we start it every couple days so the gas doesn't drain back, and it'll be fine. If it's going to be a rainy day, I'm going to throw it in here since it won't be under the tent. Ultimately, we'll get the back room cleaned out, everything upstairs, and that car will go back in the back where it belongs to be. So, all right, not real exciting, but another necessary project that needed to be done here to move forward with a whole bunch of chess moves here around the homestead and with MKS. Like, share, subscribe. We will be back on Stitches real soon. I promise. Life has just been not going the way that I planned. There's an old saying that says, we make our plans, and God just laughs and laughs. All right, we'll catch you on the next one. Oh, yeah, don't forget, because it's important.